Welcome back. It's our last of the history books. If you're a history buff, you're probably like, oh, bummer. And if you're not a history buff, you're like, all right, bring on the prophets. Or actually, no, bring on wisdom next, actually. Oh, and then prophets. Spoiler alert. Anyway, this is a fun one. This is, let's say, a fun trivia factoid. The book of Esther does not mention a certain someone in the entire book of the Bible here. Any guesses? Yes, the book of Esther does not mention God. Is that crazy to think about, that God is not explicitly mentioned? Now, is God present? That's for the reader to discover, right? So the book of Esther is very important in Judaism. Purim, which is a holiday of observance, the book of Esther describes the first of this that's commemorated every year in Purim. So this is a important book to the people of the Hebrew people. And the Protestant reformers and the church before that agreed this was an important book, that even though God isn't necessarily mentioned explicitly, God is very much present, and God's truths are present. And this is a really good story, to be honest. Esther is, she's a queen in Persia, but she's from the Hebrew people, and she's very clever. If you're going to read this, I don't want to give it away, because this is kind of like the Book of Ruth. It's got a little hook to it, so to speak. But it's an interesting story how she is able to use her intelligence, her position, and other things to be able to help the people of God. Right? It's a model of how we can all contribute in our way, and in this case, avoid massacre and disaster. The Book of Esther also, like I said, besides lifting up this interesting character of Esther, saint of God, we have, of course, this the story of Purim, like I said. It's also a book that, again, no, I don't think it shows up in the lectionary ever. So if you're looking for a book that you're not really going to hear in church, this is one of them. Like I said, the last two as well are pretty infrequent. But like I said, Esther maybe shows up once every 3 years, and it might be an optional reading. I'd have to check that. But it's a book that, it's a good story. It's part of the problem. It's hard to say, well, here's this great 8-verse section that we can preach on. No, it's a whole story, right? How do you share that on a Sunday? It's up to the people of God to read Scripture, like Lutherans talk about all the time. It's important. So Luther translated the Bible into the common language, right? His time German, but why we have it in English so we can all read it. That's why we're at the Bible library, so you can read. So if you're looking for a book that's a good story that I guess you're not normally going to hear, but it requires you, the reader, to think and where God is in all this. We've talked about this in some of the other books, but this one really, where's God? And this is good practice, like all those books. It's good practice to think about, where's God in our lives, right? God isn't always overtly telling us. Sometimes God does, but God isn't always overtly saying, "Here I am." It's up for us to see it, or when the Spirit reveals it to us. Often, I know for me, it's after something has happened. Oh, God was there. I didn't see it in the moment, and this Scripture can be like that for us too. So, I invite you to read the book of Esther. This rounds out our history section. And like I said, this is a story in itself. I guess I don't give too much away, but it's kind of a, historically speaking, it's not like other ones that have been chronologically boom, boom, boom. This has kind of been a historical bubble, shall we say, among the Persians. So, I hope you enjoy it, and I will be back tomorrow to talk about wisdom literature.